The Democratic Party today launched its presidential election campaign committee for candidate Lee Jae-myung, encompassing members from different political backgrounds. The People Power Party will hold a final runoff debate tonight between Kim Moon-soo and Han Dong-hoon, while Prime Minister Han Duck-soo is expected to announce his presidential bid sooner rather than later. South Korea's intelligence officials report on snowballing North Korean casualties on the battlefield, estimated to be nearly 4,700, among those sent to help Russia's war against Ukraine. This follows recent moves evidencing ever closer Pyongyang-Moscow military ties. U.S. President Donald Trump has signed an executive order aimed at easing some of his tariffs on the auto industry. It allows partial reimbursements on parts-related taxes and lets carmakers avoid separate levies being stacked. It's April 30th, 8 p.m. in Seoul. This is Newscenter. Thank you for joining us. I'm Yoon Jung-min. The Democratic Party of Korea is in full campaign mode with its committee now launched. The People Power Party still has one runoff debate before the final candidate is finalized. Our political correspondent Kim Do-yeon begins our coverage.
The Democratic Party on Wednesday launched its presidential campaign for its candidate Lee Jae-myung. Leading the polls and facing a rival party that lost its former president by impeachment, Lee is focusing his message on social unity to secure victory.
South Korea now stands at a historical crossroads. Will it rise as a hopeful leader on the global stage or fall into decline through destructive backpedaling? The only force that can stop regression and lead us toward hope and the future is national unity.
The Lee Jae-myung campaign's message of unity is reflected in its leadership lineup, 22 key figures including 15 co-chairs, with some coming from conservative political backgrounds. One notable addition is former KDCA chief Jung Eun-kyeong making her political debut. She gained national and international recognition in 2020 for leading South Korea's rapid and effective COVID-19 response. The campaign will operate 15 subcommittees directly under Lee's oversight and 35 more covering a wide range of national policy areas, signaling a broad, inclusive push to win over both sides of the political spectrum. Meanwhile, on Wednesday evening, the People Power Party's Kim Moon-soo and Han Dong-hoon face off in their final runoff debate, the last and decisive battle to determine the party's presidential nominee. In the previous round, neither secured over 50%, with votes split evenly between PPP electors and an open public survey, leaving no clear front runner. Kim is backed by party loyalists, especially those who still support impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol. Han, who supported Yoon's impeachment, may have an edge with swing voters in the open survey.
You used to be really close to President Yoon. What happened?
Dear citizens, I believe in democracy and the republic. I would have stopped my own father if he declared martial law.
Voting opens Thursday and closes Friday, with the winner to be announced at Saturday's convention. Meanwhile, acting President Han Duck-soo is expected to resign as early as Thursday to run for president as an independent, a major shakeup. Kim backs a potential merger with Han, while Han Dong-hoon is more cautious about the acting president's run, but hasn't ruled a merger out. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Intelligence officials estimate thousands of North Korean casualties on the battlefield amid Russia's war against Ukraine. The voice is growing louder within the international community to condemn growing military ties between the two, following North Korea's recent confirmation of troop deployment. Our correspondent Kim Jong-sil has more.
South Korea's National Intelligence Service reported nearly 4,700 North Korean casualties in Russia's war in Ukraine, including at least 600 fatalities. The information was revealed during a closed-door briefing of the National Assembly's Intelligence Committee on Wednesday. Intelligence reports also show a significant boost in North Korea's combat effectiveness, especially with the use of new technology like drones. This comes amid growing global tensions over North Korea's escalating military role in supporting Russia's war in Ukraine. On Tuesday, the UN Security Council held its first meeting addressing the situation in Ukraine following North Korea's admission of sending troops to Russia and Russia's confirmation. Hwang Jung-kook, South Korean ambassador to the UN, voiced grave concern over the military support.
Staggering reports indicate that North Korea now supplies nearly half of Russia's frontline munitions. Without this illegal military assistance, peace in Ukraine might already have been within reach.
The meeting saw widespread condemnation from several countries, including South Korea, the US, and Ukraine. Meanwhile, Russia's ambassador Vasily Nebensia defended the collaboration, framing it as part of their strategic partnership.
We are deeply grateful to our Korean brothers, whose fortitude and bravery will forever remain in the memory of our people.
While North Korea's absence from the UN meeting raises questions about its diplomatic engagement, its ongoing military support for Russia continues to influence the course of the conflict in Ukraine. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
U.S. President Trump has taken a step back to ease some of his tariffs on the auto industry. Marking his first 100 days in office, his administration seems to be sending a message to America when it comes to trade negotiations with other countries. Moon Hye-ryun reports.
U.S. President Trump signed 2 executive orders on Tuesday, rolling back portions of the auto tariffs announced earlier this month. The changes modify the 25% tariff on fully assembled vehicles, as well as additional levies on auto parts that are set to take effect in stages starting May 3rd. The first executive order introduces a tariff onset for parts used in vehicles assembled in the U.S., equaling 3.75% of the retail price in the first year and 2.5% in the second year. These percentages correspond to a 25% tariff applied to 15% of the vehicle's value in the first year and 10% in the second year. Trump said the measure is intended to give automakers more time to produce cars in the U.S.
We just wanted to help them during this little transition, short term. And during this little, if they can't get parts, it has to do with a very small percentage. If they can't get parts, we didn't want to penalize them.
Under the second executive order, automakers will be shielded from so-called stacked tariffs. That means companies already paying the levy on imported vehicles and parts will not have to face additional steel and aluminium tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico. The administration says the goal is to avoid compounding unnecessary costs. Meanwhile, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said Tuesday that tariff talks with South Korea are beginning to take shape, although he did not provide further details.
I can see the contours of a deal with the Republic of Korea coming together, and then we've had substantial talks with the Japanese.
When asked how domestic issues in South Korea and other trade partners are affecting trade talks, Bessent stated that these countries want to have a framework of a deal in place before their elections. However, South Korea's finance ministry rejected the remarks and reaffirmed that the country is committed to following the proper procedures and not rushing the negotiations. Moon Hye-ryun, Arirang News.
Against this backdrop, U.S. Secretary of the Navy is here in Korea, visiting major shipyards in the country for related cooperation between Seoul and Washington. Moon Ji-young reports.
U.S. Navy Secretary John Fallon is on a visit to South Korea in a move to enhance bilateral cooperation in the shipbuilding sector under U.S. President Donald Trump's leadership. According to industry sources, Fallon is visiting HD Hyundai Heavy's headquarters in Ulsan and Hana Ocean's shipyard in Koje on Wednesday, both located in the southern region of the country. He is expected to meet with the company's top executives, including HD Hyundai Vice Chairman Chung Gi-sun and Hana Group Vice Chairman Kim Dong-kwan, to discuss potential collaboration in areas of naval shipbuilding, maintenance, repairs, and overhauls. The Navy chief's visit comes as Trump has highlighted the need to revitalize America's shipbuilding industry and the importance of partnering with allies, including South Korea, a global powerhouse in naval vessel construction. Before arriving South Korea, Fallon visited Japan, where he toured local shipyards and met with Japanese Defense Minister Ken Nakatani to seek bilateral cooperation in naval ship maintenance.
The competition with China, especially regarding the scale of warships, is so fierce that the U.S. shipbuilding industry cannot effectively compete. This is why President Trump plans to revive it.
Meanwhile, acting President Han Duck-soo met with John Fallon on Wednesday morning to discuss cooperation in the shipbuilding sector, including strategies to integrate this collaboration into broader trade negotiations. Moon Ji-young, Arirang News.
The lights are back on in Spain and Portugal following the recent massive blackout. But what caused the incident remains unclear. Lee Eun-jin has more.
Power was restored to normal in Spain and Portugal by 11 a.m. on Tuesday local time after they experienced one of Europe's most severe blackouts. Despite the recovery, both Spain and Portugal remained in a state of emergency on Tuesday. A sudden loss of 15 gigawatts of power in a matter of 5 seconds around noon on Monday local time triggered the blackout, but authorities are yet to give an explanation into what caused this sudden loss of power. When the power failure struck around noon on Monday, airports, railways, traffic, and hospitals were paralyzed, and phone services and ATMs were shut down. Emergency workers in Spain said they had rescued around 35,000 passengers on Monday, stranded along railways and the underground rail system. The Spanish National Electricity System operator had detected 2 incidents of power generation loss that could have caused the energy instability. And while the agency ruled out cyber attack as the cause, Spanish Prime Minister Sanchez said the government would not rush to conclusions in finding out what happened in those 5 seconds. Lee Eun-jin, Arirang News.
A wildfire in Daegu that was contained yesterday flared up again this afternoon, with people advised to evacuate. We have our Lee Eun-hee on the line. Eun-hee, fill us in.
Yes, Jungmin, the massive forest fire on Hamjisan Mountain in Daegu has reignited just a day after being brought under control. Around 5 p.m. today, local officials sent emergency alerts ordering nearby residents to evacuate. In response, the Korea Forest Service deployed over 300 personnel and over 40 firefighting helicopters to the scene. The latest updates report that a fire line has formed along a 2.1-kilometer stretch around the mountain. The first fire was initially extinguished by noon Tuesday after nearly 24 hours, but strong winds reignited residual embers, causing the fire to flare up again. To prepare for the wildfire's continued spread, a nationwide emergency mobilization order has also been reissued, which calls for additional firefighting support from other regions. That's all I have for now, Jungmin.
Eun-hee, thank you for the latest. Shifting gears, industrial output maintained its growth momentum in March on the back of strong chip production, but retail sales and facility investment lost ground. Shin Se-byuk covers the latest findings.
South Korea's overall industrial output rose for a second straight month in March, led by a surge in semiconductor production, posting the biggest rise in 19 months. According to Statistics Korea on Wednesday, the country's industrial production index climbed 0.9% on month to 114.7. That follows a 1% gain in February, marking a continued rebound after a 1.6% drop in January. Manufacturing output jumped 2.9% from the month before. In particular, chip production spiked 13.3%, the largest increase since August 2023. Statistics Korea attributes this to sustained demand for advanced memory chips.
Semiconductor output has been climbing steadily since last year. In particular, demand for high-performance chips like HBM and DDR5 has reached record highs.
Despite gains in production, the domestic economy remains sluggish. Construction output dropped 2.7%, while service sector production, a key indicator of consumer activity, dipped 0.3%. Both consumption and investment declined, falling by 0.3% and 0.9% respectively from the previous month. Regarding consumption by category, sales of non-durable and semi-durable goods rose, but durable goods like mobile phones and computers saw a sharp 8.6% drop. Statistics Korea attributed the sharp decrease in durable goods to a base effect from last month's surge in smartphone sales and early EV subsidies. For investment, facility investment fell 0.9% as machinery investment declined despite gains in transport equipment such as passenger cars. Pointing to weakening domestic demand as the main reason behind the divergence between industrial output and consumption, an expert said both short and long-term government efforts are needed to tackle the slowdown amid internal and external uncertainties.
The government is using a supplementary budget and potential rate cuts to support demand. But in the long run, we need new growth engines, as most industries aside from semiconductors are losing ground to China, hurting both exports and domestic demand.
신세벽, Arirang News.
South Korea's inbound tourism for March fully rebounded to pre-pandemic levels, surpassing the number recorded during the same month in 2019. According to the Korea Tourism Organization on Wednesday, around 1.6 million foreign tourists visited the country last month, marking an 8% increase year-on-year. The largest number of visitors came from China, followed by Japan, Taiwan, and the United States. From January to March this year, Korea has welcomed around 3.8 million tourists, up nearly 14% compared to the same period last year. The Seoul Bus Labor Union says buses will operate as normal starting tomorrow, following Wednesday's one-day work-to-roll slowdown protests. The union limited the protest to one day to minimize public inconvenience, but is urging management to take part in further negotiations. If talks continue to stall, the union may decide on further action, possibly a full-scale strike at next week's meeting. Last-minute talks broke down in the early hours of Wednesday after 9 hours of negotiations. The union is demanding an 8.2% increase in base pay and an extension of the retirement age from 63 to 65. Management is pushing to lower the standard wage through wage system reform. A couple of weeks ago, we covered how the Netflix series When Life Gives You Tangerines has been gaining popularity in and outside of the country. Our An Sung-jin was in Jeju herself to see the scenes from the drama and to talk about what makes the drama the latest buzz.
뱉는 게 뭐 별거냐? 똑같아.
This line from the last episode of the Korean drama When Life Gives You Tangerines captures one of the underlying meanings of the series, living life. The story of a young couple on Jeju Island and how their life progresses through many ups and downs caught many sniffling throughout the episodes of this heartwarming story.
Across generations, these stories and the lines from the characters were very relatable in talking about life and values because it revolves around family.
Such storylines have resonated with viewers from around the world as the show topped Netflix's global non-English show chart.
The theme is so universal. The fact that there are Korean themes involved is part of the fascination and the interest for me as a Westerner. That show makes me feel I'm there. I feel part of their life. I feel I'm experiencing what it's like to be in Korea during this stretch of time. I think it's absolutely universal.
The series' Korean title uses a phrase from Jeju dialect, 폭삭 속았수다, which translates to "you've worked hard." The drama portrays glimpses of the beautiful scenery of Jeju Island as a background to key events in their life. The characters grow up on Jeju's rocky shores in the 1950s, and these scenes were filmed around Kimyeong Beach, where haenyeo, or female divers, can often be seen, a symbol of Jeju Island. They fall in love in the warm, bright canola fields in the 1960s, another endearing sight on the island during April and May. The characters take part in a writing contest at the Jeju-mok government office, capturing the history of Jeju. and other scenes show off the island's natural beauty.
This site right here was one of the places where the scenes of the drama was filmed. You can also get a glimpse of the traditional houses that represent Jeju Island.
The local government is developing programs so that tourists can visit these locations easily.
Through hosting drama filming locations and investing more in these programs, we hope to further invigorate Jeju's content and tourism business.
So for those who haven't had a chance yet to catch up with the series, why not give it a look to enjoy the beauty of Jeju? 안성진, Arirang News, Jeju.
Early summer like heat appeared nationwide today. The daytime temperature in Seoul rose up to 26 degrees Celsius, about 5 degrees higher than yesterday. There were areas where the daytime temperatures moved up to nearly 30 degrees in the southern parts of the country. However, as there are temperature swings, please dress in layers when you go outside. Rain is forecast across the country tomorrow, and the dryness of the atmosphere will gradually be relieved. Looking at the amount of rainfall, as little as 5 millimeters to as much as 50 millimeters of rain is expected throughout the country. Tomorrow morning, most areas will start off in the double digits with rain falling. Highs will move up to 18 degrees in Seoul, 23 degrees in Gwangju, Daegu, Gyeongju, and Jeju. On Saturday, more rain is expected all over the country. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world. That is Newscenter for tonight. Thank you for watching. A panel session up next.